Have you ever reached a milestone, looked around you, and felt empty? Like you worked tirelessly to achieve something that looked successful on the outside, but didn't feel meaningful on the inside? Welcome back to the EmpowHERed, the space where we explore healing, growth, and the journey of becoming your truest self. I'm your host, Alkistis, a mother, an entrepreneur, and a podcaster. And today's episode is one I think so many of us can relate. Working hard, step by step, only to realize we've been climbing the wrong ladder. It's a moment that stops you in your tracks. You wonder, how did I get here? And was this even my path to begin with? In today's episode, we'll dive into why we sometimes build lives that don't feel like our own, how to recognize when you're out of alignment, what neural manifestation is, and how it can help you rediscover your purpose, the courage it takes to pivot, let go, and choose a more meaningful path. This isn't about feeling ashamed for the choices you made, because every step you've taken has brought you here. It's about asking better questions, listening to your intuition, and aligning your life with what truly matters. And trust me, I've been there. I've worked so hard to build things that ultimately didn't align with me. Letting go wasn't easy, but it was necessary. So grab your tea, get comfortable, and let's explore this together. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and introduce yourself in the comments down below. I'd love to know who's listening to this right now. So with no further ado, let's dive in. Let's start with a powerful visual. Picture yourself walking up a long staircase, step by step. You're climbing with so much determination, so much focus. But what if you're moving in the wrong direction? You won't know until you reach the last step. For so many of us, we follow a path that looks like success. We graduate, get the right job, hit milestones, build businesses, or chase the perfect family life. We keep going step after step without stopping to ask, do I even want this? Does this align with me? I'll share something personal. A few years ago, I was working in our family business, hitting goals, doing what I know I'm good, brand strategizing. I had the financial wins, the growth, somewhat recognition, but something inside me felt off. It was like I was walking on autopilot. I kept telling myself, this is enough. But deep down, I knew it wasn't fulfilling. That's the tricky part. When you're climbing, it feels like you're supposed to keep going. You don't stop to question the ladder you're on until you're already tired and disillusioned. So let me ask you, what ladder are you climbing right now? Whose definition of success are you following? Sometimes we're so busy chasing a goal that we forget to ask if it's even ours. Now let's talk about how we can start shifting out of the cycle of chasing goals that don't align with us. This is where the idea of neural manifestation comes in. Neural manifestation is the process of rewiring your subconscious mind, your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions to align with the life you truly desire. Think of your brain like a path in a forest. The paths you walk every day become clearer, more defined. They are your default thoughts and habits shaped by conditioning, societal pressure, or fear. If you've been walking a path that doesn't serve you, one driven by external expectations, you'll keep manifesting more of the same. But here's the good news. You can create new paths. you can rewire your brain. And here are some steps to start neural manifestation. Unearth your true desires. Ask yourself, what do I truly want? Strip away the expectations and tune in what feels authentic to you. Try to identify limiting beliefs. What stories are you telling yourself? I can't make money doing what I love. I'll disappoint people if I change paths. This is the easy way to make money. This is the only way to make money. These beliefs keep you stuck. Try to visualize your future self. Take 5 minutes each day to visualize the life you want to live. Not just what it looks like, but what it feels like. Try doing this first thing in the morning while your brain is in the theta frequency. Try to take small, aligned actions. Break your vision into small steps and take action in a way that feels light and aligned. Dr. Joe Dispenza, the master of neural manifestation, says this: you can't create a new future while holding on to the emotions of the past. Neural manifestation is about clearing those old emotions and creating a reality that matches who you're becoming. Sometimes we don't realize we're living someone else's version of success until the signs become impossible to ignore. And let me tell you, those signs don't always look like red flags. Sometimes they look like a perfectly painted picture of a life you should want. For me, the first time I experienced this was when I was working in my family business. It was a path that felt scripted, a safe and predictable version of a life that so many of us taught to strive for. Work somewhere stable, get married, have children, work some more, retire, travel when you're older. Sounds familiar, right? At first, I convinced myself that I should feel grateful. Grateful for the safety, the predictability, the clear milestones. But something inside me felt off. It was like I had to bury my creativity, silence parts of myself, and to live on autopilot. And then the signs started showing up. Creativity has always been a part of who I am. But in that environment, it felt suffocated. I didn't realize how much until I had my children. Suddenly, creativity was poured out of me, almost as if I couldn't hold it anymore. Our living room turned in what I can only describe as a creative school. We painted, we played, we crafted, hours of creative play every day. Not because my kids asked for it, but because I needed it. It was like my soul was screaming for expression. And that's the thing about misalignment. It always finds a way to surface. Whether it's through frustration, creative blocks, or even burnout, your body, mind, and energy will let you know when you're building something that doesn't align with your truth. But the moment that really shifted everything for me was when my daughter's sensitive skin led me to create natural soap in my kitchen. At the moment, I didn't know it was going to change my life. I just wanted to help her. Making that soap became more than just a practical solution. It was an outlet. It felt like my creativity had found a purpose. And for the first time in a long time, I felt alive again. I didn't have a grand plan. I just knew I had to follow that spark. That spark became the foundation for Alkimia, the brand I'm currently growing. But here's the twist. That wasn't the end of my misalignment story. 4 years later, I found myself running a successful business, something I had dreamed of for so long. Alkimia was growing and it was making money. On the outside, everything looked great, but something inside me started to feel uneasy again. I realized I was building a business that yet was profitable, but it wasn't aligned with my deeper purpose. I was so close to creating a brand that would have looked successful, but felt empty for me. I was caught up in the same trap, chasing external markets of success rather than tuning into my intuition. This is where neural manifestation saved me. It gave me the tools to pause, reflect, and ask, what am I truly creating here? What does this brand represent? Is this aligned with my mission? And what I uncovered was Alkimia wasn't just about creating beautiful products. Its true purpose was to guide people on their healing journey, to create tools and experiences that help us reconnect with ourselves, embrace our imperfections, and heal, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. That realization shifted everything. It allowed me to course correct and align my business with my true mission. So, how do you know if you're building someone else's dream or walking a path that doesn't align with you? Here are some of the signs. You'll feel drained, not fulfilled. You're achieving things, but they don't light you up. Success feels hollow. You silence parts of yourself. Maybe it's your creativity, your voice, or your ideas. You shrink to fit someone else's mold. You keep chasing validation. Your focus is on what others think, on looking successful instead of feeling fulfilled. Your body sends signals. This could be physical symptoms like exhaustion, anxiety, or even burnout. Your body knows when something isn't right. You feel restless. There's a nagging sense that there's something more, but you don't know what it is. For me, creativity was my biggest sign. I had to learn to stop ignoring it. What about you? What are your signs? Take a moment to reflect on that thought. Are you truly building a life or career that truly aligns with your values, passion, and purpose? If not, what small signs have you been showing up in your life that you've been ignoring? Take a moment to journal on this. If no one else's opinions mattered, what would you choose to create or pursue? Letting go, even just saying the words can feel heavy, can't it? Letting go means acknowledging that something in your life, something you worked hard for, something you've invested in, or maybe even someone you love, no longer aligns with who you're becoming. But here's the truth. You can't build a meaningful life without making space for it. This chapter is about having the courage to release what no longer serves us. Whether it's old habits, relationships, beliefs, or even your identity, so you can create room for what truly matters. Letting go feels hard because it often comes with a sense of loss. It's the death of something familiar, something you held once so tightly. Even if it's draining or misaligned, it's still a comfort zone. For me, one of the hardest things to let go was the business direction I was working so hard to build. After years of pouring my energy into growing something that looked successful, I had to admit to myself that it wasn't aligned with my deeper mission. Let me tell you, the realization didn't come easily. My mind immediately fought back with thoughts like, but look at everything you've achieved. What will people think if you change direction now? You've worked hard to get to where you are, so why walk away? This is what's known as the sunk cost fallacy. The belief that because you're invested so much time, energy, money into something, you must stick with it. But holding on to something just because you're already given it too much will only keep you stuck. The truth, sometimes you have to let go in order to grow. But here's the part no one talks about. When you let go, there's often a void. This space where you feel empty, uncertain, and very lonely. I like to call this the in-between stage. The space where you've realized something, but you haven't yet stepped into what's next, and it's very uncomfortable. For me, it showed up when I decided to pivot the direction of my brand. After letting go of what no longer aligned, I found myself in a space of stillness. I didn't know exactly what the next step would look like. It was scary because we're conditioned to always have a plan, to keep moving forward. But that space, the pause, it's where the magic happens. This is the time to reconnect with yourself. What do you want your life to look like and feel like? What lights you up? What do you want to build, not out of obligation, but out of purpose? It's in the stillness that clarity begins to emerge. When you release what no longer serves you, something incredible happens. You free up energy. Think about it like cleaning out a very cluttered room. For years, you've been holding on to things you don't need. Boxes of old beliefs, dusty relationships, and habits you've outgrown. All of that takes up space mentally, emotionally, and physically. When you start clearing that space, you feel lighter. You're able to breathe again. For me, letting go of old business goals and some relationships that were no longer aligned created space for creativity to flow again. I felt a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. Letting go is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And here are a few steps that perhaps can help you navigate it. Acknowledge what's misaligned. Ask yourself, what in my life feels heavy, drained, or misaligned? Be honest, it might be a relationship, a job, a habit, or even an expectation you placed on yourself. Reflect on the cost of holding on. What is holding on to this cost you? Your time, your energy, your peace of mind. Sometimes we need to see the cost clearly to give ourselves permission to let go. Grieve the loss. Letting go is hard because it's loss. Give yourself space to feel, to mourn the older version of yourself or the dreams you're leaving behind. It's okay to feel sadness and grief. Reconnect with your why. Once you've released what's not serving you, shift the focus to why you're making this change. What does letting go make space for? What version of yourself are you stepping into? Try one small step forward. You don't need to have it all figured out. Take one small step. aligned action that feels good. Something, the simple act of moving forward, will show you the next step. I want to share something personal at this point. When I decided to let go of the path that looked quote unquote successful on paper, I had to grieve. I had to grieve the time and energy I'd spent building something that wasn't aligning anymore. But you know what? What happened next? I felt a sense of lightness I had never felt before. Letting go brought me closer to my truth. I realized that my purpose wasn't about just building a business. It was about creating products, tools, and experiences that guide people on their healing journey. And if I hadn't let go, I would have missed on building something truly meaningful, something that aligned with who I am, not who I thought I should be. Letting go isn't a failure. It's an act of trust. It's like saying to yourself, I deserve to live a life that feels meaningful. I deserve to create space for what aligns with my soul. I want you to hear this. Letting go doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing yourself. When you release what no longer serves you, you create space for something greater, something that feels more aligned, purposeful, and true. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Trust that what is meant for you will find its way into that space. You're not losing anything. You're making room for everything. Now let's take a deep breath together. Inhale, and now exhale. Imagine yourself setting down whatever weight you've been carrying. Feel the space it creates. Feel the freedom. Now let's step forward, one intentional step at a time. As we close this episode, I want to remind you something important. Letting go is not about losing, it's about choosing. Choose yourself, choose alignment, choosing a life that feels meaningful even if it means stepping into the unknown. Growth isn't linear. Some steps will feel heavy and others will feel light. Some steps will look like starting over and others will look like saying goodbye. But every step brings you closer to who you're meant to become. So as you move forward, I invite you to reflect on this. What are you ready to let go of? What small step can you take to move toward alignment and purpose? Trust that creating space will invite in something better, something aligned, something that feels like home. And remember, you don't need to have it all figured out today. Take it one step at a time, one moment, one decision, one breath. To help you stay grounded as you embrace this journey, I've created a complimentary affirmation deck for your phone background. Powerful reminders to keep you aligned with your purpose. Head over to alchemiasoaps.com and use code EmpowHERed to download it for free. You'll find all the details linked in the show notes down below. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. If this episode spoke to your heart, share it with someone you love, someone who might need to hear this message. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We have so many more meaningful conversations ahead. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment down below or send me a message. Knowing you're here makes this community feel so alive, and I'm endlessly grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, protect your energy, honor your growth, and trust the process. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And as always, take care of you. See you soon.